Thank you, members. This time I'd like to welcome everyone to the second Interim Joint Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Senator Boswell. Here. Senator Carpenter. Senator Elkins. Here. Senator Girdler. Here. Senator Herron. Here. Senator Maiden. Here. Senator Mills. Senator Webb. Senator West.
Here.
Senator Wheeler. Here. Senator Williams.
Here.
Representative Baker.
Here.
Representative Ballman.
Here.
Representative Blanton.
Present.
Representative Bowling.
Here.
Representative Bridges.
Here.
Representative Chester Burton. Representative Dossett.
Present.
Representative Flannery.
Here.
Representative Fugate.
Here.
Representative Hancock.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative McCool. Representative Miles. Representative Moore.
Here.
Representative Smith.
Here.
Representative Watkins. Representative Wesley. Representative Whitaker.
Here.
Representative White.
Here.
Representative Williams.
Present.
Co-Chair Smith.
Present.
And Co-Chair Gooch.
Here. Okay, we do have a quorum. One of the things that we have to do with this meeting is a presentation and a public hearing on the low-income home energy assistance program, referred to as LIHEAP. I know there have been some talk about federal funding and that sort of thing, but we are going to conduct this as we've always done in the hopes that this program will continue and will continue to be funded. And so with that, we're going to have a presentation. We have Shannon Hall, the Executive Advisor of the Department for Community-Based Services, and Rick Baker, Executive Director of Community Action Kentucky. Would you folks please come forward? Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, go ahead and come forward. We do need to approve the minutes, and I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, the minutes stand approved as read. Thank you. Please identify yourselves for the record, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Shannon Hall, Executive Advisor, Department for Community-Based Services.
Rick Baker, Executive Director of Community Action Kentucky, the state association for the 23 community action agencies across the state.
All
Proceed.
right. If it would please the committee, we'll just jump right in.
Okay.
So what is LIHEAP? LIHEAP is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program established in 1982 during the Ronald Reagan administration. It was created to help households with the lowest incomes that pay the highest proportion of their income for home energy. LIHEAP helps households manage high energy costs, particularly during those more harsh winter and summer utility bills. It reduces disconnects, reduces the need for assistance through weatherization, and it promotes responsibility through the Assurance 16 program. So the LIHEAP funds spent to date in federal fiscal year 2025 total $43.4 million. The anticipated amount of funding for federal fiscal year 2026 is $58 million. This is all 100% federally funded. There's no cash payments ever made to households, and payments are made directly to vendors and or utility.
That figure, is that Kentucky or is that the total federal program?
That's Kentucky's figures.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So 90% of federal LIHEAP award is used for benefits to Kentucky citizens. $400,000 is retained by DCBS for the Preventive Assistance Program to assist families receiving Child Protective Services with needed energy payment assistance. Up to 15% of the amount can be allotted for weatherization, and up to 10% can be used for administrative costs. This chart represents the monthly income for household sizes. So you can see there that at represents 150% of the 2025 federal poverty guidelines. So a household of one cannot exceed a monthly income of $1,956, and it goes through a household size of 8, and that would be $6,768. And for each additional household member that's added beyond that, you would add $673 to the monthly income limit. So now we're going to talk a little bit about LIHEAP components. So LIHEAP offers the following types of benefits to Kentucky citizens: the bill payment assistance for heating and cooling, so the subsidy component and then the crisis component, the emergency assistance, and of course weatherization activities that increase energy efficiency, the health and safety and eligibility among those with low income dwellings. So specifically the fall subsidy. This is a one-time credit on household utility bills. It prevents disconnects primarily during colder winter months. The benefits are a fixed amount based on energy type and household income. The application process begins in early November, usually ending in mid-December. Early applications are sometimes accepted in October for the elderly and individuals with disabilities. Appointments are available for those who are working individuals. And again, no payments are made directly to the household. LIHEAP Winter Crisis. This is assistance to prevent crisis disconnects. The household must demonstrate a true crisis, such as a disconnect notice. Application process for this program begins in early January and runs through mid-March or longer, determined by funding availability. Benefits are limited to the amount necessary to relieve the crisis. There is a maximum amount, and that's capped based on the fuel type, and no payments, again, are made to individual households. We also run the spring subsidy, again, with a focus on preventing disconnects during summer months. It helps offset the cooling cost, which is primarily electric utilities. Benefits are a fixed amount based on household incomes, and the program application period runs from April 15th through May 30th. This slide represents some of the numbers that represent the recent LIHEAP participation. So there was 63,000, a little over 63,000 households that received summer cooling subsidy benefits with an average benefit of $185 for a total of $11.8 million. For the fall subsidy benefits, nearly 71,500 households with an average benefit of $136.19 for a total of $10.2 million. The crisis benefits, a little over 68,000 households received that benefit with an average of around $345 for a total of $24 million. And then the spring subsidy benefits, right around 51,000 households, average benefit a little over $163 for a total of $8.3 million. Now we're going to get into the weatherization aspect of the LIHEAP program, and one of the primary tenets of this program is increasing the energy efficiency of dwellings, reducing energy cost, the need for other types of assistance programs, reducing the risk of utility disconnects, and attempting to improve overall health and safety. The priorities for weatherization are not particularly in any order, but elderly, disabled, or children. So households that include one of those three persons would take priority. Households with young children at risk of removal from a home due to any sort of substandard condition. a high energy burden household where the energy cost exceeds 15% or more of their gross household income. Weatherization continued. This is a partnership with the Kentucky Housing Corporation. The funds are used to make home repairs related to energy efficiency. It serves low-income households if income does not exceed 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. There was 295 homes weatherized from July of 2024 through May 31st of 2025. And the average benefit for the weatherization program was right around $11,900, and this used the combination of Division of Energy, so DOE funds, and LIHEAP funds. Here it discusses some different weatherization measures. So measures are evaluated on a return on investment sort of basis, so savings to investment ratio, or SIR. Some of the common weatherization activities or measures is insulation, air sealing, caulking, those sorts of things. Health and safety aspects, so a carbon monoxide detector for testing for gas leaks and other health and safety things are appropriate health and safety activities of weatherization. Checking combustible appliances such as stoves, furnaces, or water heaters, and then installing fire and carbon monoxide detectors. So LIHEAP is, again, 100% federally funded. It's a block grant that comes to the department and then is used as a pass-through to Kentucky Community Action. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick here to talk a little bit about his organization and how they help the department run this program.
And again, LIHEAP is operated in partnership with the Cabinet through a contract with Community Action Kentucky and the 23 community action agencies based across the Commonwealth. Community action agencies are governed by a tripartite board of directors. It's actually mandated by law that they have representatives of elected officials, low-income representatives, and the public sector or private sector representatives, which could be other community-based organizations or companies or chambers of commerce, any other type of private sector are mandated to be on that board. Almost every single county judge executive serves on a community action board or has a seat on the board, as well as mayors, to make sure that you receive that local input and coordination of local services. We've been administering the program since the late 80s when the Cabinet approached Community Action back in the day to start administering the program. Again, the largest benefit we have is we have a physical presence. We're the only community-based organization that has a physical presence in all 120 counties of the Commonwealth. We presented this morning to the Disaster and Resiliency Task Force about how we reacted to natural disasters and just anything that happens in our communities every day. The great thing about Community Action being a partner with the LIHEAP program, that it gets people in our doors. And they're in for that immediate assistance. They may need utility assistance, but we can then start case management and say, okay, you know, what may be some of the factors that's got you to this position, and how can we keep you from needing assistance in the future? A lot of our agencies offer economic development activities, job training activities, to where they can get those families enrolled in job training, education to help improve, to get them a job or get them a better job or maintain their job, and make sure that they don't need assistance long term. That's the goal of Community Action, is make sure that nobody needs our assistance. We know that unfortunately in today's world that people are always going to need assistance, and we want to make sure that we provide those the assistance they need, or make sure that they get it to where they can get it in their communities if we don't provide it directly ourselves. Every agency also has to do a comprehensive needs assessment every 2 years that fully documents the needs of their local communities, even down to the community level, not just the county level, but community level, and then address those needs through the services that they provide. So again, we've got a map that kind of shows the 23 agencies. They're again spread across the state. Some are as small as 1 county, and some operate up to 10 counties. So again, we're pleased to be a partner in this program. And again, it allows us to meet those families where they are and then help address their needs so that they don't need continued assistance. So
I think Senator Smith has a question.
thank you.
Yeah, more of a statement. Thank you, Chairman Gooch. Just it's good to see Rick Baker here. He's done a fantastic job. For how many years? I'm curious because I'm not too much older than you, but you've been in office since Joe Duke, I guess, was there. How long ago?
Do I have to say how long? No. This is my 36th year that I'm in.
So a
in this.
remarkable life that's been dedicated to this type of service. And as we continue to mop up the war on coal in our area, these programs have been so critical in saving the few families that we can from literally collapsing. And if you've ever been there back when the kerosene is up, to see people coming, lining up with families with children to get kerosene to go back home because they don't have the luxury of having that. And even as the rates have gone up, you've seen more and more people go to it. The light heat has been one of the most effective tools we've had to get it into the hands. I can't say that about all the programs, but this has been a remarkable one, and I'd be remiss not to point out your years of service to it and what a great job you all have done. And just one quick comment is that Rick's son Noah is a remarkable young man as well, and he volunteered all the way through high school as for free working with our sailing school. So the sailing school that we've always operated for autism, that's always been free. Noah, we could not have done it without Noah. But and Rick's also a good fellow, brother Mason. So a lot of good things I can say. It makes no shock to see you obviously being successful with this program. I'm glad to have you at the helm. But I've said too much. Thank you again for your time, and we appreciate your years of service to our state.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to echo the comments that Senator Smith made. I've worked many years with your folks, and you do a great job helping a lot of folks who really are in dire need of especially this program. So with that, thank you. Representative Johnson.
Yes, sir. 2 quick questions, if I could. I want to go back to, actually all the way back to the 3rd slide. And I know that every member of this committee knows the answer to this question, but should there be somebody watching that doesn't, can you tell us what Assurance 16 means?
Sure.
Of course, all of us know the answer to that. I know you guys do, but, maybe I don't.
So Assurance 16 is it's a program to support the reduction of energy burdens among LIHEAP applicants. Agencies are encouraged to provide these activities. These initiatives focus on education, case management, and energy conservation strategies. So programs must be submitted for approval prior to the start of the crisis component. And during the current program year, we had 3 participants that participated in the Assurance 16 activities, and that was Foothills, Lexington, and Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission.
Thanks. One more quick one.
Certainly.
Over the years, would you say that the programs have run out of money before running out of need, that there was enough funding available, or somewhere in the middle? What's been the trend?
The trend more recently has been that typically there's enough money to continue to operate the components through the end of the scheduled end of the program. But now in recent years past, especially when it comes to crisis, the way subsidy works, every household that applies that's eligible receives assistance. And then that determines how much you end up with in crisis to spend for the crisis component. In years past, there's been times where agencies have run out in as less as 30 days because the need has been so great. More recently, the last couple of years with funding, with the additional funding that's come, with the CARES and other sources of funding, then there's been enough money to keep the program literally running almost year-round with brief periods in between. We are concerned for the future whether or not that will be able to continue.
All right. Thank you.
Hopefully it continues. Hopefully the program continues, period.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Well, Senator Smith, I think, has a follow-up question.
Yeah, it just dawned on me. I know a lot of people look at light heat, and we've done it so long. We still remember the people coming using those to get the block cold to heat their house. But in the winter, we always went through it in this winter because it was so cold and people were buying heating fuels. But in the summer when it's hot, what are some of the assistance that we can do? Because you can't really go buy fuel for that. How does it apply for a summer deal where you're trying to help a family cool or get into a cooler environment?
That primarily is through electric assistance. Is what we provide in the summer cooling component, is to help with those utility costs so that they can continue to have either window air conditioners or a heat pump, and make sure that they don't get their utilities disconnected in the summer for those cooling components.
Representative McCool?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to record my presence. That's okay, and that's the question. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming today. I actually have been on site and watched some of the work. And this, if you all haven't seen this is hard work. The weatherization, you crawl underneath some of these trailers or buildings, and there's no room, and it's rocky, it's muddy, it's all these things makes it very difficult. But I guess my question is, you talked about measurement. So when you measure over time, we should have fewer and fewer homes to have this need. So is that reducing any of the costs, or are you just finding there's so many homes that you said about measurement? I didn't see what that measurement was. How are you measuring the return on investment? I know it's a great program. I've seen it.
Right.
So I'm not questioning that.
Yeah. Initially, there's a model that's used that you measure they have a machine where they set up and they measure what the air infiltration is before they start a home. And every measure that they do, every measure is like caulking or insulation. Every measure has to show a return on investment greater than what the cost of those materials are. So you're saving energy costs long term in those homes. Unfortunately, in Kentucky, as many of you know, with the housing situation that we're in, with so much substandard housing, we have so many homes that still need to be weatherized. There's always a waiting list for homes to be weatherized.
That was my question. So even though you've taken care of 100, you still got 200 more needs to be done.
Or
more.
2,000 or 20,000.
2,000.
Yeah.
I just threw a number. Probably
yeah,
a low
right.
number.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following along the presentation here, thank you all so much. I saw that you took into account energy burden for the weatherization programs, which of course is going to take into account local energy costs, as energy is not a flat rate across all of our 120 counties. Do we use energy burden and those local costs when going into the heating and the kind of winter crisis LIHEAP programs as well?
If I understand right, I think what you're saying is, do you, like regional or through different communities, do you take that into account?
Is it only based on if they fall underneath the poverty threshold, or is it based on a combination of the poverty threshold and local energy rates, aka the burden?
It's not local energy rates. I do know that. It is dependent upon the heating source. Mm-hmm. Like they receive a certain amount for electricity, natural gas, propane, coal, wood, fuel oil, and electric, of course. But that is a statewide. Those amounts are set statewide overall. They are not specific to localities.
Can I ask one follow-up, Mr. Chair?
Certainly.
Thank you so much. I know we're all trying to figure out the future here versus what we've seen out of Congress and one big beautiful bill. The research, especially out of I've seen, is that Kentucky's expecting to have higher energy rates, and what I've seen from Energy Innovation, which is a nonpartisan think tank, is that we'll be have the second largest increase among the 50 states. What can we do to make sure that Kentucky's looked out for if the poverty level that they're using as a basis is going up, or is the same set nationwide based on federal rates, but Kentucky now has a higher energy burden due to more localized energy costs?
Right. Again, I think it's a matter of watching that data, monitoring it, making sure that when we see that there's increased costs, that we then can, working with the cabinet, look at making recommended changes to at least the assistance amounts. But ultimately, if you're dealing with a finite number of federal dollars, the more that you spend per household ultimately is going to mean the less households you can serve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Representative Moore, did you say that Kentucky's rates were going to go up because of the quote big beautiful bill? that was recently passed.
Again, I know we're in early days and we're just seeing what the think tanks and policy research centers are doing. And so I've seen a couple articles published about the projections looking out up to a decade out from now.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I mean, we've sat here for 30 years that I've been here, and we've seen Kentucky's rates go up dramatically, mostly because of fuel shifting and situations where the federal government was trying to tell us what type of energies we were going to have to use. And I don't think that there's anything in that bill that's that even anywhere along those lines of trying to restrict the type of resources that Kentucky can use to protect ourselves. So just wanted to clarify that. Representative?
Senator Aaron.
Oh, Senator Heron, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
She was in the House before.
Yeah, I wasn't in the house, and I didn't know if you were talking to me or somebody else. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I do have a couple questions. When we're talking about the participants or the people who benefit from this, do you have a breakdown of how many people are renters versus homeowners who utilize the services? Is the first question.
Right. I do not have that data in front of me, but we do have access to that data because we do determine if they're renters or if they're homeowners at the time of application. So we can get that data and get it to you.
Please do. And then, Mr. Chair, I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
On, I think it's page 4, you showed in 2025 there's $43.4 million that was utilized or has been spent, and there's an anticipated more, so it looks like about a $15 million change in that. Have you all gotten any word or any developments of potential cuts for this particular fund? And then if so or if not, what should we be looking forward to or thinking about as we're moving forward in this budget session to make sure that we are taking care of folks utilizing this program?
Great question, and thank you for that. So H.R. 1, or the Big Beautiful Bill, which it's often referred to, did not take any action against LIHEAP. And so I think our next potential hurdle would be the appropriations bill that will be sometime this fall on the federal level, where it could be a topic of funding at that point. I think until we get there, we won't know collectively, what that's going to look like for Kentucky or any of the other states. But certainly we'll be watching that closely.
And I will add that if there was a significant cut and or reduction, you can see what the need is. There's a huge need for Kentuckians to need these services. So that is something to keep in the back of your mind as legislators moving forward. If there's a gap there and a significant gap, would the state be willing or wanting to step in and fill that gap? So because there is a huge need for it. So,
Okay. Any other members have questions? Do you have anything else you need to add?
I don't think so, unless there's other questions. We'd be happy to.
All right, thank you. At this time, we're normally are required, I guess, to have a public hearing on the LIHEAP program, but no one signed up to speak, and so is there anyone in the audience that did not sign up but wants to speak on this issue? Okay, if not, one of the things that we have to do, members, in your packet, there is what we call a finding of fact. And it's just is about the program, and it just talks about the application and those sort of things. It's in your packet. We do have to approve this. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed by like sign. Okay, the finding of fact is approved. I think this is submitted with the application or whatever. So with that concludes our public hearing and presentation on the LIHEAP program.
thank you very much.
Thank you
for
very
the
much.
opportunity.
The next item on the agenda is this discussion of conservation opportunities in Kentucky. We have Heather Jeffs, she's the Director of External Affairs at the Nature Conservancy. Welcome, and glad to have you.
Okay, and is my microphone on?
It's not on.
There we go. Thank you, Chairman Gooch, Chairman Smith, and other members of the committee. It's great to be before you all today talking about conservation opportunities in Kentucky. My name is Heather Jeffs. I'm the Director of External Affairs for the Nature Conservancy's Kentucky chapter, based in Lexington. We're a statewide organization. We have global reach, but really local roots, which I think is one of our strengths. We're the largest conservation organization in the world. We have chapters in all 50 states and more than 70 countries. And our mission is to really conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends. But we really try to do that in a way that is solutions-oriented, pragmatic, nonpartisan, and bringing people together. So when I'm talking about land protection today, I just want to be clear that I'm talking about voluntary conservation programs with landowners who want to sell their property or development rights and see what we call a conservation outcome. This is keeping our farms and our forests working or increasing public access to hunt, fish, and otherwise enjoy Kentucky's great natural assets. So I wanted to start today just talking a bit about Kentucky's conservation legacy and a recent win that we had thanks to support from many of you in this room, and that was the Cumberland Forest Project. This was a project that we did in partnership with Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, as well as the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation on around 55,000 acres in Bell, Knox, and Leslie counties. And the General Assembly generously provided an appropriation of $3.875 million back in the 2022 budget cycle for Kentucky Fish and Wildlife to utilize federal funding for the remaining purchase of a conservation easement on that property. And this is a property that's in the heart of the Elk Zone in eastern Kentucky. And we just have some really great stories to tell since that easement closed at the end of 2023. So I have just a couple of numbers here today. We've conducted mineland reforestation in 3 projects since 2022. So in Bell County, that's over 100,000 trees on 148 acres. In Leslie County, that was 64,000 trees on 95 acres. And in Knox County, 50,000 trees on 76 acres. And there's an additional 100 acres planned in Bell County later this year. We've also done a lot of elk habitat work in partnership with the department and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, with over 3,200 acres treated either with aerial spraying for invasive species or prescribed fire. And then another thing that you all did in the 2024 session was you provided an appropriation of $2 million for the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund. And I'll talk a little bit more about that program later in my presentation. But I just wanted to share, I received an update recently that $2 million has all been allocated as of April 2025, just showing again the demand for this kind of work in Kentucky. And just to highlight a couple of those, there are 2 projects with the Office of Kentucky Nature Preserves. Those are in Hardin County and Greene County. There's a project with the City of Elizabethtown. There are 2 projects with the Lincoln County Fiscal Court, 2 projects with nonprofit land trusts in Trimble County and Bullitt County. And then just in July, the Heritage Board made 3 awards from its regular revenue sources, which are the nature license plates that you see around, an unmined minerals tax, and environmental fines. And that is a conservation district project in Kenton County and 2 Kentucky State Parks projects in Bell County and Harlan County. So just a really great story to tell overall. And we want to really build on the momentum in this conservation space. And thanks to Chairman Smith, we've been working with him to collaborate and provide more technical assistance when it comes to conservation. And so earlier this year during the session, I came around to meet with many of you about our Kentucky Needs Assessment. And this is a 60-page report. I have a copy here and copies for anyone who wants them, really highlighting the conservation opportunity in Kentucky, what the current funding looks like in our state, where there might be gaps in that funding, and I think some really helpful comparisons to what our peer states and other southeastern states are doing in this space. So I'm excited to share that work with you. Some of you may have heard part of this presentation earlier this year. Senator Webb kindly allowed me to present at the Kentucky Sportsman's Caucus breakfast, so I talked a bit about this there, and just wanted to also highlight some feasibility research that we're in the final stages of finalizing right now. So when it comes to conservation, we have tons of benefits to highlight, and I really think that's one of the important things to show is just how many different sectors conservation can provide a benefit to. So one of the benefits I wanted to highlight is tourism, and you can just see the numbers. Out-of-state visitors spend $1.3 billion on recreation in Kentucky. That's 13% of all visitor spending, and this is not even including those kind of associated costs, whether it's their lodging, their food, transportation, things like that. So supporting over 12,000 jobs in Kentucky and $315 million in wages. The next benefit I wanted to highlight is hunting, fishing, and wildlife watching, which relies on our publicly accessible lands. 4.3 million residents and visitors participate in this in Kentucky, spending $11.2 billion. Agriculture, of course, is a key industry here in Kentucky, and conservation supports family farms. The agriculture industry has $49.6 billion of output, supports 272,000 jobs, and provides $10.3 billion in wages. The forestry industry also depends on healthy forests, and that industry in Kentucky is $18.6 billion in output, 57,000 jobs, and $3.9 billion in wages. Another signature industry for Kentucky, bourbon, which relies heavily on Kentucky's agricultural and forested lands and waters. This is an industry that provides $9 billion in output, 23,000 jobs, and $1.63 billion in wages. And finally, I just wanted to highlight flood protection, as this is an increasingly persistent problem here in Kentucky. And so just highlighting that wetlands, and particularly forested wetlands, perform critical flood control, water storage, erosion reduction, and nutrient filtration functions. So again, just a snapshot of all of the benefits, and these are discussed in more detail in the needs assessment. So as of now, Kentucky has 2 state conservation programs. The first I mentioned earlier is the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund that provides money for public uses, outdoor recreation, education. A lot of you probably have projects from the Heritage Fund in your districts. And the other is the purchase of agricultural conservation easements, which is known as the PACE program, and that's conserving farmland through voluntary conservation easements. The Heritage Fund receives money from those revenue sources every year, and then again, you all provided the additional appropriation in 2024. The PACE program has not received funding in several years and is currently only accepting donated conservation easements. So this chart from the needs assessment always gets a lot of attention. It's programs in our comparison states, and we're not comparing Kentucky to states that are outside of our area. As you can see here, we're putting Kentucky up against a lot of our neighbors in the Midwest and the Southeast. And Kentucky, sadly, is ranked at the bottom when it comes to the number of programs and the amount of funding provided for conservation. And as you can see here, it's not even close. So again, that one program is the Heritage Fund, and the approximate annual amount, which is the average over the couple years the last couple of years when the needs assessment was being researched is less than $3 million a year. And just to highlight how some of the other states are funding conservation, you can see that there are a variety of different mechanisms. I'm not going to go into each of these, but just wanted to kind of show that a lot of our peer states are using different and multiple means to fund conservation. So again, building on the needs assessment, we decided to work with our partners at the Trust for Public Land on a Kentucky feasibility research study. This study is almost complete. I should have it in the next week or two, and I'd be happy to share it with anyone after that's finalized. But it's diving a bit more into the details on some of those specific funding mechanisms and how they would touch down in Kentucky. So specifically, it looks at a sales tax, it looks at bonds, and it looks at the real estate transfer tax. And I'm just here to say the Nature Conservancy and our partners, we're not here today to say this is the solution for Kentucky. We're here to show options, what some of our other peer states are doing, and to really be here for you all as a partner when we're deciding what would be best for Kentucky. So I'm going to go into the sales tax a bit more just as an example, but I just wanted to be clear on our position there. So sporting good retailers in Kentucky generate approximately $53.9 million in sales tax revenue every year. And there are some examples of other states dedicating all or much of this revenue directly to conservation because it's seen as sort of these are the people who would like to invest in conservation. They're buying outdoor sporting equipment. Dedicating even a portion of that, so as an example, we use 80%, would provide $43.1 million to conservation. So just in comparison to that, less than $3 million. And that $43 million represents less than 1% of all the sales tax collections in Kentucky in fiscal year 2025. And again, going into a little more detail with some specific case studies, starting with Georgia, they have a Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. 83% of their voters supported a constitutional amendment on this in 2018. It protects forests, wildlife habitat, and land critical to clean drinking water. And it provides $200 million over 10 years with an option to extend for another 10 years. And then another example I wanted to provide is the state of Texas, which had a constitutional amendment in November of 2019, which was supported by 88% of Texas voters. And it's a permanent dedication of the estimated portion of state tax revenue collected from the sale of sporting goods. In fiscal year 23, which was the latest year that we had good data, that generated $249 million for conservation. And then they approved another $1 billion of surplus funds for acquiring and developing state parks in Texas.
I think Senator Webb has a question. Is it
yes.
okay we do it now?
Oh, yeah, we can do it whenever.
Please.
Good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for all your work. We've got a great partnership for those new members that are on this committee. And Senator Madden's district speaks to that. I appreciate the models and I appreciate the conversation. I think we need to have more of it. I'm going to throw in the Missouri model is sort of close to my heart as it is dedicates like 1/8 of a cent on sporting goods sales to their Fish and Wildlife Department specifically, and then 0.10% to park, soils, and water, which to me would be more of this initiative. So they've got a model that shores up Fish and Wildlife specifically with the sale of these goods, and then also goes further with the efforts for habitat. And I'm kind of partial to that model. I just thought I'd throw it out there at this point while we were referencing our other states, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Webb. And again, we're looking forward to discussing all of these different options, and these are just sort of examples that we'd like to share with you all today. So another thing that the feasibility research looked into are additional best practices, and we found that when there's good federal investment in conservation and state level, it often unlocks a lot of other opportunities, even at the local level. And so there's more information about this in the study, but just to highlight what some of those are, we're talking about conservation tax credits, PDR, which of course Kentucky has some familiarity with, enabling local financing, state incentives for local conservation, public-private partnerships, and federal partnerships. So what's next? We're looking into updating our public opinion research on this issue. We know it's always important to show what the voters are thinking when it comes to investing our state's resources. And so we're looking into doing that this summer and hoping to have some new updated public opinion research for you all around Labor Day. But for now, I wanted to highlight some polling that we had back in 2023 when the Appalachian Regional Commission Conference was here in Ashland, Kentucky. The Nature Conservancy partnered with Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and others. We had a panel discussion during that event talking about outdoor recreation, conservation as economic development tools. And so this poll, it polled people in all of the Appalachian Regional Commission states, but it oversampled from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. So just as an example here, investing in clean water and the conservation of natural areas and parks helps support jobs in our tourism, farming, and other natural resource industries and helps support our economy. 92% of respondents agreed with that, with 54% of those strongly agreeing. Even when state budgets are tight, we should still find the money to invest in protecting our land, water, and wildlife. 4 in 5 Appalachian voters said that funding for conservation should be maintained even in tight state budgets. So 87% agreeing with that statement, with 51% strongly agreeing. And this last one just shows a bit more. You'll see Kentucky there on the far left, Tennessee in the middle, and Virginia off to the side, all very supportive of dedicating additional state and local funding for conservation. So specifically in Kentucky, 86% agreed with that statement, with 51% strongly supporting. And I don't think that, there would be much less support for this in the last couple of years. So we recognize this polling is from 2023, and we hope to have more updated numbers for you all again around Labor Day. And that's the end of the presentation. So I just wanted to thank you all again for taking the time to hear this, and I look forward to meeting with any and all of you who want to discuss this more. And TNC just really wants to be a partner with you all, looking into what would be best for Kentucky. So thank you again for your time, and happy to
Thank you.
answer
I
any
think we do have
questions.
some questions.
Please.
Senator Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make one comment. There is a tax already on certain sporting good items. It's a federal tax. Is that correct?
I
Guns and ammunition.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Also, as we talk about these things, one thing I've been advocating for quite some time, and I'm going to continue to work on this, and you could solve all these problems right here. We have a lot of non-residents coming into our state to take advantage of our resources here. If I go to Illinois and go deer hunting, I think it's around $900 to kill one deer, essentially. They come to our state, they pay $395. And so I think we need to look at this, and we need to consider reciprocal agreements, and that would take care of all your issues here as far as funding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator West?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Got two really quick questions that are related. The first, in your presentation, thank you for your presentation today, by the way. In your presentation, you talk about the amount other states have provided and that sort of thing. And so within your proposal, or within your presentation, it did not include Fish and Wildlife. And I think we had, last time I checked, I think it was like a $60 million fund set up within Fish and Wildlife for this sort of thing, where they would go out and purchase easements and conservation easements and protect lands. And so I know there's a lot of land purchased by Fish and Wildlife for these purposes. And I don't think that was included. First question is, why wasn't that included? And then I'll just lump this as a completely separate question. The Nature Conservancy, when you manage lands or get involved, do you get money, receive money from carbon credits? And if you do, is how much of that comes from Kentucky lands? I know that's a lot. I split this two different subjects there.
So for your first question, I would need to look into the fund, the 60 million that you're talking about. We're talking more broadly about conservation, I guess. So I guess you're suggesting that the 3 million would not be including that.
Correct. Yes.
Fish and Wildlife Fund.
Yeah. So I think last time I checked, I think the fund was like 60 million, and it's some of that money comes down from federal funds and environmental protection funds, and it is used to purchase property that is.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself for the record, please. Respond if you'd like.
Yes, sir, Chairman Gooch and Chairman Smith. David Femmes, I'm the executive director for the Nature Conservancy in Kentucky, and just wanted to, the fund you may be referring to, Senator West, and first, good to see you. Thank you for your question, is the in lieu fee
Correct.
fund.
Yes.
And the funds for that come in when someone who is seeking a permit at both the federal and state level for development that's going to have some impact on Kentucky waters, they have a variety of mitigation options that they can pursue. One of those is payment into that in lieu fee fund. And so the fund then uses those monies to go out and do projects which provide compensatory mitigation against those impacts. So you are correct. It's a relatively big program, and there have been a lot of great projects and a lot of land conservation done through that. But as Heather was referring, our efforts are looking at how can we use conservation dollars to meet more needs than just that compensatory mitigation.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask the question is if you're talking conservation, where you're comparing Texas and Tennessee and those sorts of things, then to me that number needs to be included in that total. It's not like Kentucky isn't doing anything. And so I know some of those in lieu funds are used to, I think they are used to purchase property and conservation easements and that sort of thing. So that was my only point with that question.
No, it's a good question. And I believe the data behind those other states, that is focused on grant programs, broadly speaking, for conservation. So there are not mitigation dollars, for example, included in the other states on that list, for example. And I know that's one of the reasons I know that's true is I used to work for the Virginia program for the Nature Conservancy that did a lot of mitigation, and that numbers on that slide definitely don't reflect those totals.
Gotcha.
But good question.
And then the carbon credits, or do you all receive money from carbon credits?
Yeah, so the Nature Conservancy as its own entity in Kentucky does not. The Cumberland Forest Project, which the Nature Conservancy is a managing partner on, one of the revenue sources from that project has been carbon credits.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for the questions. I'll turn it back to the expert.
Okay. Well, the payment in lieu of, as far as the Fish and Wildlife is concerned, I do know there's quite a bit of money in that fund, and it is for the specific purpose of mitigating problems that maybe affect our streams or waters or whatever. And I think I saw recently where there's been some questions to whether or not we're actually spending that money in a timely manner. And I think Tennessee may be about to lose primacy in that program simply because they have not spent their funds in a timely manner. I think Senator Smith may have some comments on that as well.
I do, and I want to say that it's important, and for those of you that remember, I know Senator Webb and Gooch will remember Representative Philip Childers. Philip and I worked on this piece of legislation years ago, so I want to give credit to this committee, but when the in lieu mitigation program first began, you could only write a check to the Greater Metropolitan Sanitation District of Louisville. And I see you nod your head. So all this was happening in Eastern Kentucky and Pikeville and Perry County and all the mining. They were taking streams and mitigating waters, but that money was coming to Louisville, to that. And so myself and Philip Childers wrote the bill to change it to be able to redirect it so it could be spent into this region. And I do encourage them. We've had a couple of ones there at the Goose Pond, I guess, that they did under Doug Hensley and that group restocking a stream. But I do encourage that we do move on some of these because I know we have a lot of them. But what's just happened with us with the flood obviously can take a break. But it wasn't always so. But it did take the work of this body to go in there and correct that so this money could go back to the region that it was actually mining in. And so fast forward all these years later, it's nice to see that it was successful. And Philip's since passed, but he was very, very passionate about this. And I remember we had to come and argue with Senator Shaughnessy. If you all remember Shaughnessy, that was our biggest obstacle to get out of there. And he did not realize that when they built the airport in Louisville, they had to mitigate those wetlands. So he was actually turned out to be a big supporter of it when he found out they were a victim of it. But I do appreciate it, and it does go back and let us see that this body works well and that we've heard the people speak and made corrections years ago that are bearing fruit today. So I just want to brag a little bit about some of our past members who are gone, but their work still rings true today. So thank you all.
I have a couple of people that have questions. Senator Webb, were you want to respond to the...
Just to follow up on
yes,
Philo.
that's right.
I've worked a lot in this area too, and these funds are somewhat restricted, and they are for stream and wetland mitigation only. And I know I've been doing this budget process a long time, getting ready to go through it again, Lord willing. So I just want everybody to know, when you see those numbers and that pile of money, we can't. Don't say we can take that, because I've fought that fight before. We can't take that. That's federal dedicated money, and we need that. So I just want to say, when you see that big pile of money in the budget upcoming, that's hands off. That stays where it is. So thank y'all.
Yeah. Okay. Representative Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Senator Boswell mentioned that there's a tax at the federal level on sporting goods, and something I wanted to bring to the committee's attention is that this method of dedicating sales tax revenue to fund these sort of things isn't new. The National Sports Fish Recreation Act passed 75 years ago this year, and it takes funds from the sale of fishing products and puts them towards fishing conservation. So I think that's an approach we need to strongly consider because it's been tried and tested over the years. But my question is, let's say that we as a legislature fully agree that we need to put money behind conservation, and we give you some huge chunk of money like $251 million that somehow Texas can afford. I don't think we can afford that in the state of Kentucky, but let's say we did give you, we said, okay, we want to invest in this. Other than buying up and tying up land, what sort of projects could we focus on that would specifically generate returns financially for the state? Because I think that's something that we really need to look at as the economic impact of conservation.
You want me to? Thank you, Representative Whitaker. Yes, completely agree. Conservation and economic development, we like to say, go hand in hand. So we really worked not to buy them up and tie them up, as you said, properties. We want to have land that is accessible to the public for all of these reasons, whether it's hiking or hunting, looking at elk, you name it. We want people to be out enjoying these lands, and we want amenities to be in the local communities that will also draw people in and keep them in. And so that's really important too. I do want to be clear that when I'm talking about investing in conservation, or the Nature Conservancy is, we're not talking about simply providing additional funding for land acquisition. We want to think more broadly, and I think a lot of these other states are thinking about it more broadly. So we can look at different state examples of what they're investing in, whether it's parks or land acquisition or other things, but we definitely want to be thinking bigger than just straight land acquisition.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, there are a couple of reports that we have received. One is the Office of Broadband Development. It's a semi-annual report from January 2025 to June 2025. And then also one from the Public Service Commission. It's a report on the pole attachment for broadband service. That's been an issue for quite some time. Those are on the website, and just want you, so any member can access those if you want to go. Is there any other business to come before the committee? I think because of the State Fair next month, when many committees are meeting at the State Fair in Louisville, we are going to meet. It's on a Friday, which is a different meeting day than normal, and it's closer to the end of the month. So with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn. So move. Second, all in favor say aye. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.